traders await the Fed decision. That'd be like awaiting whether or not the sun's going to come up tomorrow, folks. I can tell you right now, if the sun's going to come up tomorrow, and the answer is yes. And I can also tell you about the Fed decision, and we'll share that with you ahead of the Fed decision on today's Rebel's Edge. I figure we might as well start with that today, Pete. I mean, the Fed decision will help people so you guys don't have to be glued to whatever, a 4-letter network, a 3-letter network, or whatever. You don't have to be glued to it because right now, with 100% certainty, Pete is going to tell us what the Fed decision is because he's got a crystal ball. Pete, what is it?
It's really tough to figure this whole thing out, John, but I will say, I'll go out on a limb. They're going to pause.
On the nose.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's been 100% on Polymarket. It's been 100% on the CME Fed tool.
Yeah.
For how long, Pete?
Yeah.
And yet they're saying, well, traders await the Fed decision. Well, they might be awaiting Powell's last press conference, yes, but they ain't awaiting the decision. And if they are the dumbest SOBs I've ever heard of, Pete, because it's pretty damn clear what the decision is, and it was a month ago.
Well, and I will say this on top of all of that, John, when it comes to him getting up there, it's a little bit less about the pause or maybe a hike or maybe a cut. Who knows? But it is a pause. But all that being said, I'd like to see him take a nail, pound that nail on the top of his feet so he doesn't put them in his mouth. Because as long as he can do that, maybe things will be a little bit better after they do pause, John. Otherwise, he's going to put his foot in his mouth because he's going to go up way too long and answer way too many questions and make the mistake of saying something that's going to cause the market to fall apart. That's what worries me.
Yeah, and here's the one thing that he could do, folks. So save this and play this after he does this. Because here's the one thing he'll do, Pete. He'll say, I ain't leaving. He'll do the same thing that Leonardo DiCaprio did when he was playing the Wolf of Wall Street. And that is, I ain't leaving. And everybody cheers, except in this case, everybody'd go crazy because his term is up in May. Yeah. We're this close to May right now, Pete. Yeah. So if he says, I'm not leaving because Kevin Warsh hasn't been approved yet, that would give the market some turmoil. But let's hope that's not what happens. But I'm saying, if it happens, you heard it here first. All right, Pete, let's dive into macro. Yeah. Societe Generale, their quantitative strategist, and that's from The Big Short, by the way, Pete, with Ryan Gosling, where he says, this is my quantitative. Look at him.
Fantastic.
Anyway, the quantitative strategy that is laid out by Andrew Lapthorne is that he says 12-month forward profits are now around 600 billion higher than they were 4 months ago, before the war started, Pete. Mm-hmm. That's a 12% increase. In other words, during the war, with everybody running around like their hair was on fire, they're saying it's a 12% increase, the largest upward revision outside of a post-recession recovery in history during the war. Yeah. So for all of you folks that get so worried and pull your money out of the market and hurt yourselves financially by doing that, don't do that.
Right.
This is from the head of Societe Generale, their quantitative strategist, just said, hey, forward profits are up $600 billion over 4 months ago, and we're at record highs. So what does that tell you, Pete?
That was what I was going to point out is, and this is all in the midst of having record highs. So, that kind of says it all. I'll just go in a different direction just real quick, John, for the macro. And the macro for me is what's going to happen with all these earnings tonight, because this is a big night for earnings, especially anything in the world of tech. I mean, we've got Google, we got Amazon, we got Meta, we got Microsoft, and we have some in the healthcare world too, not as meaningful or whatever, but AbbVie, and we already had AstraZeneca. So it's really, really going to be something interesting tonight to see how those things play out. Generally, I think there's some positives out there, John, but it is a matter of how well positioned some of these different major technology companies have put themselves. And we know a lot about Meta already. We know something about Microsoft, but I think Google and Amazon should be pretty interesting. And Amazon, by the way, I will say there is a little bit of interest in terms of the options, but that's a little teaser because I'm not telling you if they're the up or the down. That's why you're part of Market Rebellion to hear that.
That's true. That's true. Good work, Pete. Yeah. All right. How about the VIX? 1820, 1830, something like that. It's up fractionally. But, you know, yesterday the NASDAQ was getting cracked and they couldn't move this thing hardly off of 18, Pete.
Yeah, well, and today it's the Dow that's getting cracked and the NASDAQ's hanging in there. It's basically flat, but you've got the S&P moving 0.1% to the downside, John. So that being said, it followed exactly what we talked about yesterday, though. We did talk about, hey, look, if this stays, you know, the way it's been playing out, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing get back underneath 18. Well, certainly yesterday it did. It got to 1780. As a matter of fact, the range today is 1780 to 1845. Now it's trading closer to call it a little over 18. So interesting, but it's pretty accurate, quite frankly, because of the size of the move today of the S&P as well as yesterday. It's come down pretty significantly, fairly fast. So I think it makes a heck of a lot of sense where it is right now. Could it get back underneath? Maybe, but I think the concerns probably, John, over the earnings tonight might kind of help that thing stay a little bit elevated for now.
Well, normally, Pete, we do prediction exchanges, but I was traveling last night and Pete didn't fill up the jet, so I had to stop by the gas pump and fill it up. But I made it here safely to New York, luckily. And so no prediction stuff today. But I will dive right in, Pete, to Seagate.
Yeah.
Because Seagate, gross margins up 47%. I mean, you don't see that every day, folks. Seagate, of course, is mass data storage. And this lifted a bunch of its competitors too, Pete, because memory storage is a big deal. And they're one of the biggest beneficiaries, according to Pete, for all of the AI sector. So just take a look at a graph. This thing, Pete, was 579 last night on the close. It went up $120 today.
It's an unbelievable move, John. Anywhere between, call it 15%. It was more than that, but the last I looked, it was around 15, 16% to the upside. Like you said, memory storage. Great category. AI spending that's going on is a monster number. And these guys are one of those that are really, really doing extremely well based on that. And here's how well they're doing, John. In Q3, earnings, 410. They were looking for 348. That, I would say, is not just a beat, but an absolute beating. Revenue, 3.11 billion. They were looking for 295. All right, that's another big beat. How about the guidance? Well, the guidance looked pretty damn good. They were looking for something close to 3, and they got 480 to 520. They also had revenue of about 3.35 billion to 3.55 billion, and they were looking for 3.16 billion. All those numbers put together, along with what you were just talking about, John, I would say this is deserving, which sounds crazy, but it's deserving of where it's been already today. New 52-week highs, absolutely ripping to the upside at 697 is the top, and it's pulled back from there. But it's still up. I'm looking at it right now, 16% at 670. I mean, this thing is absolutely on fire. It has been on fire. And if those earnings tonight get any kind of a move like what we're seeing here, it could get pretty interesting with some of those names like Meta and Microsoft and all those. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, What about NXPI, Pete?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, NXPI, folks, this is a semiconductor player out of the Netherlands, and it was up 12% last night. It was, or in the early morning, because of course they are, like I say, a Netherlands-based company. They were up 16% in the pre. They're up 25% right now. And think of that, folks, when we say these multi-billion-dollar companies are up 20 some odd percent, I mean, that is just amazing. And this one, shares basically, they beat with guidance, and they beat as best they possibly could over and over again. I just think this one's something special, Pete.
It is 52-week highs on this one too, John. Just underneath 290 is where it hit today. It's got a PE that's actually relatively low. It's a PE of 27, despite the fact that this thing's at 52-week highs. It's running like a scalded dog. I mean, the earnings beat, you know what? 305 was the number. The revenue that they beat, 3.1 billion, up 12% year over year. Absolutely everywhere you looked in this name too, John. That's why it's at 52-week highs, because they absolutely crushed it in every category that you could see. Guidance, yes. Revenue guidance, yes. I mean, there's nothing that they didn't do that they probably set out to do months ago, and they absolutely crushed it. So again, I'd just like to point out, for all those guys who kept telling us about, well, you know, this whole AI thing is it's done. They hit its max. Well, hopefully you didn't listen to those clowns, because those clowns have been absolutely awful, and the markets continued to make this move, and we're seeing it come right in front of us with these tech names, where they're giving us the real numbers, not some BS numbers from some clown on TV with a stupid smirk on their face. The reality is these companies are killing it right now, John.
Well, they are, Pete, and it's I think very well deserved what we're seeing here on the moves to the upside. How about if you lead us into the next two stocks, Pete?
All right, we've got Bloom Energy next up, John. That thing has been absolutely on fire. You're exactly right with the punch to the cam. 22% move to the upside. Again, another 52-week high. These guys absolutely crushing it. Got all the way up to 290 on the highest level, John. So a big, big move. It's off of that move right now, but I'll tell you what, they did everything like we've been talking about in the first couple with Seagate and NXPI. I mean, I'm looking at Bloom Energy, and it's an energy name, obviously. Revenue up 130% year over year. I would say that's crushing it, wouldn't you, John? I mean, these numbers are absolutely extraordinary. And then you look at the outlook, the revenue, 3.4 to 3.8 billion. They were looking for 3.23 billion. So they absolutely just crushed that as well. Analysts are out there upgrading this thing because they're late, like they tend to be. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if these analysts, John, came out sometime before this? Because if they did, maybe that would be more important. I don't know that they have to wait for these numbers, because we already got the numbers, so we know that. So anyway, I think amazing, again, as the earnings season's moving on, Bloom Energy absolutely crushed it. I don't know if you have more to add to that or not, John.
I do. I would say, Pete, that the easiest trade in the last year, up until the war, was that you wanted to be somebody in the power generation on site. You know, that could be an SMR, a small modular reactor. It could be Bloom Energy. It could be Plug Power. Could be anybody that you can basically make on-site power for instance, data centers, which we know are in huge demand. By the way, we'll be ringing the closing bell at the NASDAQ today. Our second bell ringing, folks, in less than a week. Last week, we rang the opening bell at SIBO Global Markets, Pete and I did, along with some of our lucky VIPs and platinum members. Well, we're going to do the same tonight at the NASDAQ, 4 p.m. Eastern, so tune into that on all the networks that carry it, Pete. But I think, like I say, the easiest trade a year ago was this, and it's not over yet, because they still need Plug Power. They still need Bloom Energy and so forth. But I think overall, what we're looking at is this year, it's a different story. And this year, in an upcoming webinar, Pete and I will be telling you about the one sector that you guys need to be in if you want to make money this year. You can make money across all the markets. Look at it today. And like Pete said, we got Google tonight. We've got Microsoft tonight. We've got Meta tonight. You want to know what those things are doing? Well, you should be a member of Market Rebellion or minimally the Rebel Investors Club. But let's do one more, Pete, and then we'll move on to sports.
All right, we'll jump on to Robinhood, John. They're the one that missed. I know we had three huge monster winners hitting 52-week highs, all the rest of that, all three of those other stocks. But not so good for Hood, who's been great in the past. But what's really hurt them, John, is they are very, very close, and the movement is oftentimes dictated by crypto. Now, do they have a great brokerage? Yes, I think they do a fantastic job. I give them all the credit in the world. But they declined in the revenue, their average revenue. That's not such a good thing to do. Their crypto space, John, revenue is down 47% on the crypto side of things. So that's not very good. I've been talking about how it's been stuck in this sort of muckety-muck area as far as the Bitcoin itself. But they're more than that. But if you take a look at some of those charts in the crypto area and you take a look at the chart for Hood, they aren't all that different, John. They have tumbled and they've fallen and down about 13% today. The crypto issue is definitely something. They did raise their outlook, but unfortunately, the rest of the numbers just looked so bad, John, that people, I think, are just waiting. And they're waiting for Robinhood to make a move that's something that's going to maybe move them even away from crypto a little bit. But the problem is that right now they are basically very dependent on that. They did have some nice numbers in terms of the brokerage itself, but not enough to get this thing into positive territory. And it's been going down, 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 down. It wasn't that long ago. This is $150+ stock. And now here we're trading what? Somewhere closer to 70, something like that for Hood. It's getting beat up pretty good, John.
Yeah, and they don't get the benefit yet, folks. A lot of you, of course, hear us say all the time that earnings are reverse. That you're looking backwards, and then it's the guidance going forward. Well, the guidance going forward will probably be better as time goes by, as they get visibility, as they say, into how they're doing with the day trading rules that have just changed dramatically. Because if you were a pattern day trader, all of a sudden they'd take away your ability to trade if you broke the rules of a pattern day trader. Now, Robinhood, who has an awful lot of small accounts, Pete, I'm sure they've got big ones too, but they've got a lot of small accounts that would be subject to those old rules. Now those are out the window. That's been changed. So going forward, I think it's going to be good in terms of the trading volumes over at Robinhood, but that's not part of this report.
Right. All right. Should we jump into some sports, John? We got a couple of them that I think are kind of fun that we can kick around. We talked about the draft. We talked about so much of what's going on and how the teams are changing. And I think that this is why the NFL is king, John. They do things. There are some things that they don't do well, but 90% of what they do extremely well, in my opinion. Now, do I think that the top dog of the NFL makes some mistakes? Absolutely. But I think that overall, he does a pretty damn good job, and they grow. And here's what it looks like from a ratings perspective, John. So who is the king of all sports? It's the NFL. It's not even a discussion, but I thought it would be fun to kind of take a look.
Yeah.
Day one of the draft, April 23rd, they generated the third most watched day one ever. 13.2 million viewers were watching the draft. Now, they're competing against the NBA and the NHL. Well, what does that really mean? Well, I'm looking at the NHL record-breaking. This is record-breaking for the NHL, 1.53 million. I just got done saying that for the draft, this isn't games. This is just the draft. 13.2 million. NBA, 4.4 million viewers. Not a bad number, actually. It's exceptionally high is what I read about there for the NBA. So let's even say they made 5 million. Let's say they had 5 million. 13.2 million viewers, John, on the ESPN platforms for the NFL draft. Not the Super Bowl, not the playoffs, but it's just amazing when you look at that because, you know, you get guys like LeBron coming out there who don't know nothing. I don't know if you remember last year when he made that comment about, well, you know, the NFL shouldn't be playing at Christmas. That's our turf. It's like, really? That's your turf, huh? Well, we can throw those ratings up and show you whose turf it really is. It's the NFL. But I'll tell you, the draft was great. I think people were very excited about all the things that were happening within the draft, and they've been following this thing since the Combine, which also has great viewership as well, the Combine, right? So it is pretty interesting, and I know you and I think last year we were talking about this same thing. It is about the king, and the king is the NFL. They really do things right. They've got people so excited about all of these various things. I mean, when you look at this, how about this, John? Last thing I'll say. Pittsburgh, which is where the draft was held this year, they had a record attendance of 805,000 people over the 3 days. The very first day, 320,000 people were there to watch the draft. So it gives you a little bit of an idea the next time one of these clowns spouts off and says, you know what, you know, I'm in the NBA. This is king. It's like, no, it ain't no king. And it ain't no king to King James either. So what do you think about the size of this stuff and what's going on with the viewership?
Well, I got to go, Pete. Top of the hour, I got to go because I got a Trade Monster webinar. So I'll let you finish it up, and I'll talk to the rest of you shortly. Bang.
Sounds good. All right. Hey, the last thing we could hit is just this OKC. And what I find so interesting about OKC is this. So you're in the NBA. You're in front of the Suns at 4-0, and so you're ready for the next the next culprit that you've got to go against. But between SGA, who's probably the best player presently in the NBA, and Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, I mean, this is a team that is an absolute unbelievable team that's done a great job. They won it all last year, the championship. They've got the right people. And I'll tell you what, they are on the road to win it again this year. And so the only challenger I really see that's out there potentially would be Boston, because Boston really does have some unbelievable talent. They've got a shot at it. But when you look at all the various numbers of what's going on, OKC is really, truly the best team. They led the NBA this past year again. The largest point differential in the NBA. So, you know, they do everything so well. It's absolutely incredible. And they play as a team. So I think that if we're going to throw out any predictions, we didn't do the prediction markets. I'll do this prediction. I think that there's no way other than Boston. I think OKC has a heck of they will win the NBA championship again. So that should be pretty interesting. Well, thanks for checking us out. John had to run, but we will see you guys tomorrow because Thursday is our final of the week, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time.